beautiful soul, and welcome back. Someone in my collective recently asked me to do a healing and talk on the subject of healing from resentment, especially in terms of partnership and soulmates. And I absolutely love this request, not only because this is something I have had to work through in my twin flame journey so much over the past 4 years, but because there are so many misconceptions with resentment itself and the purpose of soulmate connections that I would love to talk on. And I would love to give you that insight from my own lessons and from Spirit once we get into the cards here. So, healing from resentment, especially in relationships, is a beautiful opportunity for us to look inward. We are constantly trying to place blame, and this gets triggered a lot in our relationships, especially those intimate relationships, our partnerships, and really everything that we experience, but more so in these spaces, is a reflection of what's going on in our inner world. And when it comes to resentment, it holds a very interesting place because while we are taught to see resentment as wholly a negative thing, resentment is a tool that we can use. First and foremost, that anger aspect of the resentment, the places where it rubs us. First of all, holding on to that anger and that resentment, especially if you are a woman, is going to impact your womb. So if you are trying to conceive, you have fertility issues, anything in that general area, or you're reproductive, and men as well, but more specifically for women and feminine energy, that creates so much tension in that energy space and within the organs that it creates physical blocks, not just mental and emotional and spiritual blocks, but those physical blocks because of those other layers. So looking at where those resentments are coming up from while you're doing that womb healing is going to be very important. And additionally, that pent-up anger and that tension, it can be very beneficial to tap into. That you can switch it into a kind of righteous indignation. You can use it to set or reaffirm your own personal boundaries, because resentments often stem from places where we have become misaligned with ourselves, whether it's our values, our dharma, who we think ourselves as, or that true essence that we are still uncovering. But some way, shape, or form, resentments come because we acted or allowed something to happen outside of our alignment. And that's why it's a beautiful alignment check. So taking a look at where you have maybe overstepped your own boundaries, didn't hold fast in your own boundaries and your own values, and allowed for yourself to become victimized out of the situation, right? You can choose to be in that victim mindset, or you can take accountability. That's your choice, right? You can choose to sit in that anger, that animosity, and that resentment. You can hold on to that tension, but it's not going to feel good. It's going to atrophy not only your reproductive organs, but your heart, both physically and energetically. And I think the resentment with feminine energy is more so going to be centered around that womb. And for men, it's going to be centered more around the heart. That's just specifically, personally, a pattern that I've seen from observing people my whole life, from hearing people's stories, and as a practitioner. That's not going to be the case for everyone, but generally that consistently seems to be a pattern that happens there. And while we're in this space of introspection and we're evaluating where we have acted out of alignment, where we did not stand fast in our own boundaries, we also have to take into account that resentment comes from expectation, right? Expectations in general over life are what is going to create disappointments and, again, anger, animosity, resentment. It's one thing to see someone's potential and hold the space for them to grow and heal and learn and work their way to that potential in their own time, in their own space, because we're all different. All of our journeys are different. It's one entirely different thing to hold that space for someone. It's another to hold up that pedestal and expect that of someone. Just because you know they're capable or have the capacity to do so does not inherently mean that they're ready to do so, that it's their time to do so, etc. So again, check yourself. Where are you setting expectation? And I just heard unrealistic expectations. So you have to ask yourself, is this actually within the capacity, or am I placing my ideals, my perfect vision of this onto someone else? And I'm calling myself out here too. I'm not immune from this, and the only reason I can sit here and say this is because I've had to move through these layers of shadow myself, right? I'm not going to ask you to go anywhere that I have not been. And layer after layer, I've had to move through that. I've had to, with painfully aware of being conscious of my actions in the moment and setting my own self aside, both consciously as an act of humility and as an act of wounding. And you need to be aware of how both are showing up. How I have came to my partnership, to my twin flame journey, right? And how I have imposed my wounding, my expectations, my hopes, dreams, and goals onto my person. And it's something that we just naturally do. But it's that awareness that we're doing it that allows us to stop, pause, ask ourselves who, what, where, when, why we're doing this, and take more conscious, active steps to pull back into ourselves and understand that the control that we have is only how over ourselves, how we choose to show up, how we choose to come to a connection, what we allow for others to, say and treat us, and how to create healthy boundaries, how to verbalize your discomfort, your unhappiness, or whatever, how someone has triggered you from a conscious perspective, not in an attacking way, but in a space of ownership and setting those healthy boundaries, which for most of us, we were never taught. It's not a skill that we were taught. And it takes a lot to be able to do those self-reflections, to set those internal boundaries, and then to come back to your partnership. And depending on what the dynamic is, or even in your life with any relationship in general, it can come with a lot of backfire, because people don't know how to approach you anymore, and it causes them to adjust. But it's in that exchange that we all get to grow and refine and adapt and become better individuals, which is why I'm always saying it starts with self, and then your partnerships and your family, and then your community. It has that ripple effect. But first and foremost, it always starts with you and how you choose to show up, how you are consciously bringing yourself to a situation and reanalyzing constantly your personal values. You can grow and shift and change on a dime. It happens. Something can spark within you and it changes your whole mindset. But more often than not, it's usually a slow trickle. And it happens over time, and it happens gradually. And within that, we go through these really massive ego deaths. And then if you want to talk about soulmates, pop culture and culture in general likes to put soulmates up on this pedestal and say that it's this beautiful, happy-go-lucky thing that you want. but soulmates and twin flames and any kind of divine partnership connection, that is not its purpose. Its purpose is to trigger the F out of you. Soul partnerships and soul connections, soul tribe, etc., are by design to help you grow your soul. And the only way that that can happen is by integrating the ego, by integrating the shadow, by looking at all of those lesser forms of conditioning that we go through as being human, addressing how we're showing up and refining and showing up as our most authentic self, that core self, that soul, allowing for love to be what leads and guides us forward, to have loving compassion, to allow for that righteous indignation to inspire us to action, to healing. That anger, that burning, that's purifying within you. That is alchemy. And women need to allow themselves to feel that anger more. And men need to have the spaces where they feel safe enough to express that anger and are taught to do so in healthy ways. Again, for everyone, this is why I suggest transformational and empowered embodiment, my dance program, because it allows you to be in this safe container where you can feel and express your emotions and move that energy to come to a place of calm and equilibrium, to move through those layers in a safe place. And whatever your process is, perhaps, dance movement therapy is not for you. Whatever that process is for you, it needs to be constructive. Art therapy is another beautiful thing. I'm working on my certificate right now, and I have lots of people I can put you in connection with if art therapy is something that you feel drawn to. It gives you a space to take what is hard to verbalize and give it a form so that you can get it out of yourself and come to a level of understanding. Journaling is a beautiful way to get that energy out. I constantly have people, primarily male clients, who will come to me and say that, there's all this chatter, there's all this narrative, right? Write it out. Just get a piece of paper, let it just come out. You can choose to reread it after, you can choose to burn it, throw it away, stuff it in the closet like I do. There's like 30 notebooks in there. Whatever that is for you, that process itself is cathartic, right? It's the process that we need to allow ourselves to be present in. And my masculine is on me about this all the time, and he has been so great about leading both of us in that way when it comes to learning to appreciate and be present in that process. And man, he has refined the hell out of me over the past 4 years in being able to come to that state of calm, come to that place where I can actually be present in the process, be present in this moment. And not just that, to be thankful and grateful for where I am in that process. And again, even more than that, to be joyful in being where I am in that process. But again, that comes in layers. That's not going to happen overnight. It's something that it's a step that you have to take every day, to consciously, to keep going, to pull back those layers, right? So again, take a moment to, first of all, see where you're feeling that anger, resentment, animosity, whatever it is, within your body. Because wherever that is in your system, it's going to be blocking that energetic channel, and you're probably experiencing some blockages or tension in that area of life. If you would like to clear that personally, we can work on that. I would love to dig through that with you and to help give you the tools and the space to do so in a healthy, constructive way. But we're going to take a moment here. I'm going to start with a Reiki healing. So if you've made it this far, take a big breath. Allow yourself to feel grounded where you are. Draw awareness to your feet, or if you're sitting, standing, just bring that awareness into your body. So so that you can come to that state of embodiment and awareness. And I want you to think about where that energy is, and I want you to thank it for its lessons. And on the exhale, I want you to release. I want you to let go of the expectations, of the projections, and just allow things to be as they are, and appreciate the fact that if they were meant to be any other way, they would be. That you are here hearing whatever you need to hear, that you are experiencing whatever you need to experience within your life to help you grow, to help you ascend, to help you integrate and understand your shadow aspect, to help yourself and your soul to grow. Because whatever it is that you are going through is to help others grow in turn. However you are being called to show up is meant to inspire and trigger people with intention. And the same for others. I trigger people all the time, and it's taken me a long time to understand the purpose behind that. And as I said in one of my last readings, whether it's medicine or it's poison, it does its job. So keep breathing, allow for this energy to go to that space of tension. Definitely feeling some third eye and crown. Some solar plexus, and not being able to take actionable steps in your life, feeling disempowered. Some fears around trust. Alright, that energy is going to keep flowing. Let's see what Spirit wants us to know about this before we close out. Yeah, just coming out to confirm what already got channeled here. 9 of Cups and 5 of Cups. So this idealistic nature, this putting something up on a pedestal, quite literally, right? This trophy of an idea, this beautiful, perfect, and all be all. And then this grief, this sadness, this pain over that not being what the reality is. Again, I'm calling myself out so hard here. But within this, you are not seeing that there is still a receiving of what you need in this moment. There is a receiving of what you need in this connection. Perhaps it is disconnect and separation, even though separation is an illusion. Even when you are told no, it's often a protection from something. Just because you want something doesn't mean that it's good for you. And I have this conversation with my brother and my son all the time. Just because you want candy doesn't mean that you're gonna get it. It's not good for you. I'm gonna sit here and deal out the tough love, because if I keep feeding you happy-go-lucky candy energy, that's ultimately not going to serve you. Sitting here, giving you the tough love, being the disciplinarian, that is what helps you step up, readdress, and be a better version of yourself. Page of Wands. So it's okay to hold that space and to be able to see someone in that way. I have held so much space for my masculine and continue to do so because I know his heart and I know his soul. Not just because it is a direct mirror of my own, but because I see him, I see his journey and what he has been through and how he shows up because of his trauma and all of those things. And amidst all of that, I see who he could be. Not in terms of anything tangible, but that expression of his authentic self and who he could be once he heals past all of those layers. And I hold that space, but I don't do the work for him. I don't get angry that he's not farther ahead. I appreciate that his journey is what it is, but you also have to understand that being on the other side of that is work that you are being asked to do yourself. Those expectations. Why is there an expectation? Having expectations is not holding unconditional love. It's not holding compassion. That is, by definition, conditional love. And we don't want to hold conditions on ourselves, on anybody. We want to come back to this state of presence and appreciate what is, because what is serving us with intention and purpose. What else does the collective need to know? Beautiful. Absolutely love this. 8 of Swords and 2 of Cups. Once you can shift your mindset and set yourself free from these imposed limiting beliefs, because really those expectations are blockages that you are creating within yourself from being able to attract or have the partnership that you want. And I can hear spirit chattering, and I'm going to try and decipher this one for you, but it's the partnership that you desire will come about the moment you let go of the expectations of what it's supposed to be like. Forget about all of the quotes and things about who deserves what and how people should show up. Let go of it. Free yourself from that chatter. Allow yourself to come into your inner knowing, into your intuition, right? Because that's what that being bound is, right? Come inside, free yourself of all of those limiting energies, beliefs, patterns, self-sabotaging, etc. And on the other side, you will be able to achieve internal unity. Come into that space of internal equilibrium, and that will be mirrored in your partnerships, in all of your relationships and connections. Right? How you show up to something is going to impact what that overall energy is. You cannot control others in any way, shape, or form. You only can adapt and change and show up how you need to. Whether that be to set boundaries, to learn how to compromise, whatever the dynamic is, how you come to that and what you bring to it is what's going to help shift and change this energy to be in a space of what is going to truly serve you. And again, that's going to come about by acknowledging that it already is. Because if it was meant to be any other way, it would be. So get curious. Ask yourself, why am I showing up like this? Why are they showing up like this? How is this serving us to grow, to heal? What is being triggered and why? Why is this shadow coming up, and how and why does it need to be integrated so that I can step more into my soul and truly experience what this soul connection is inviting me to experience? I'm going to leave it here. If you feel called to dig deeper into your personal journey, into your personal connection, whatever's going on with you, to heal your aura, your chakra, etc., reach out to me.